The government of Sindh is responsible for maintaining and improving the overall social and economic indicators of the province by providing a comprehensive framework for the collection and distribution of resources amongst the departments for better service delivery. The Finance Department of the Government of Sindh maintains control over public spending, setting the direction of the provincial economic policy by ensuring balanced development and regional equity. The Finance Department functions in light of the constitutional framework of distribution of resources and provincial budget making and expenditure. Article 118 of the Constitution of Pakistan states, Provincial Consolidated Fund and Public Account. All revenues received by the provincial government, all loans raised by that government, and all monies received by it in repayment of any loan shall form part of a consolidated fund to be known as the Provincial Consolidated Fund. Therefore, all the receipts, whether from the Federation or the provinces, flow into the Provincial Consolidated Fund. The major account of the provincial government maintained with the State Bank of Pakistan is Account 1. All key expenditures like salaries and operations of the provincial government are met from this account. The Sindh government primarily relies on federal receipts, which are around 70% of the total provincial budget. Revenues collected by the federal government are distributed under Article 160 of the Constitution, which provides a formula under the National Finance Commission for the distribution of resources between the Federation and the provinces. The National Finance Commission has finance ministers of all 4 provinces, the Federal Minister for Finance and statutory members from the provinces. Under Article 160, funds to all 4 provinces are distributed through the Federal Divisible Pool. The federal government receives funds from various sources like income tax, sales tax, and customs duties. Through the Federal Divisible Pool, the federal government keeps 42.5% of the total collections, and the remaining 57.5% is distributed amongst all 4 provinces. The 4-point criteria to determine the amount of funds for each province includes population of province 82%, ratio of poverty 10.3%, revenue collection 5%, inverse population density 2.7%. As a result, the Sindh government receives 24.55% of the amount distributed amongst the provinces. In financial year 2019-2020, 835.4 billion rupees were required to be transferred to the Sindh government through the Federal Divisible Pool. However, the amount received was 629.4 billion rupees, 25% less than the determined amount. Because of COVID-19, FBR collected less than the projected receipts, particularly after March 2020. The estimated share for Sindh for the financial year 2020-21 is 760 billion. In 2010, after an amendment to the Constitution, the provinces were empowered to collect sales tax on services. In the following year, the Sindh Revenue Board successfully collected 16.6 billion rupee. Post-18th Amendment, the Sindh Revenue Board has continued to progress, collecting sales tax on services amounting to 99.8 billion in financial year 2019-20. The target for financial year 2020-21 is set at 125 billion rupees. Besides Sindh Revenue Board, excise and taxation is also a prominent contributor. Its major sources of collection are Sindh Infrastructure Development Cess, property tax, and motor vehicle tax. The Department of Excise and Taxation collected 68.6 billion rupees in 2019-20, and the target for financial year 2020-21 is 88 billion rupees. Another main contributor is the Board of Revenue. Its sources are stamp duty, registration fee, and agricultural income tax. In 2019-20, the Board of Revenue collected 13.6 billion rupees and set a target of 34 billion rupees for financial year 2020-21. Subsequent to the 18th Amendment, the provinces receive a greater share from the federal divisible pool, increasing the resources as well as the responsibility of the provincial government for service delivery.
The provincial governments rely on the federal government on most of their financial resources. The Constitution of Pakistan enables the federation and the provinces to collect taxes. Majority of the major taxes are collected by the federation and then they are distributed among the provinces as per the National Finance Commission Award. The structure of the constitution is such, the structure of tax collection is such, more than 80% of taxes are collected by the federal government. This leaves very little room for the provinces for tax collection. The province of Sindh endeavors hard to increase its tax base and to increase its provincial financial resources. We've got three major departments, and I'm glad to tell you that out of the three, two departments, the Sindh Revenue Board and the Excise and Taxation Department, not only collects the targeted taxes, but at times have exceeded the targets. The Board of Revenue, which is a little far behind, is also picking up. During the last 10 years, we've increased our taxes many folds. As an example, the tax collection of the provinces was around 20 billion rupees in the year 2010, a little over 20 billion. Now it is almost 200 billion rupees, a huge increase of 1,000%. Going forward, we are making more efforts to increase our financial resources, and I'm sure that the collective efforts of our revenue collection authorities would enable us to bridge the gap which the lower national tax collection is putting on our development portfolio.
Around 75% of the total budget is spent on the non-developmental sector, including salaries and pensions of government employees and operational expenses of government offices and buildings. Several grants are also made to the health sector.
The philosophy of SIUT is based on the premise that every human being, irrespective of caste, color, creed, or religious belief, has got a right to access health care free with dignity. Health is the basic right of every human being. We, with the help of state government, started an institute which has been working for the last 43 years here in Karachi, and the branches are elsewhere, providing health services free with dignity. There are three partners in this triangle: doctors, patient, and government. When it comes to government of Sindh was the first to support us till health. The role which government of Sindh has played is exemplary.
Grants to the education sector and other institutions. Primary disbursements for health, education, and law and order are a priority expenditure. The total non-development budget for 2019-20 was 933 billion rupees, and for the financial year 2020-21, it is 969 billion rupees. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, the world has experienced significant changes, shifting its priorities and strategies. COVID-19 has brought drastic effects on not just human life, but also the economy, causing loss of lives and livelihood. Making health a global concern, the pandemic has deeply impacted our lives. Last year, the Chief Minister Sindh constituted a special task force comprising of government functionaries and private sector experts, ensuring the implementation of swift preventive measures to combat the pandemic. The Sindh government responded promptly, focusing on lockdowns, social distancing campaigns, health facilities with free testing, establishment of quarantine facilities and intensive care units, and extending support to frontline workers. Ration bags were also distributed to those affected by the lockdown. To fight against COVID-19, a self-generated Corona Emergency Fund of 3.7 billion rupees was established, with generous contributions from government employees, private sector organizations, and various individuals. 9 billion rupees has also been utilized from the regular budget side from financial year 2019-20 and 2021, helping the Sindh government to conduct around 3.3 million tests, providing adequate PPEs to frontline workers, establishing tertiary care hospitalization facilities with 664 ICU beds along with ventilators, 1,872 high dependency unit beds, and 1,374 low-flow oxygenated beds. Furthermore, around 4,000 ad hoc frontline medical and support staff were employed to fight against the pandemic. The government of Sindh established a special 200-bed infectious diseases hospital in Karachi within just 3 months at a cost of 2 billion rupees. Moreover, 18.35 billion rupees was allocated in 2020-21 for health risk allowance to frontline workforce. The government of Sindh embarked on a large-scale vaccination drive, starting from healthcare professionals and old age citizens and expanding to include the general public. On 9th May 2021, the Sindh government commenced operations at the 24-hour mega vaccination center at Expo Karachi. Even with limited resources, the government of Sindh effectively managed the COVID crisis and remains committed to saving countless precious lives. Development involves providing an enabling environment in which individuals and society can grow. It warrants a balance in sectors to enhance equitable growth opportunities for the people. In financial year 2019-20, the main focus was on health due to COVID-19. The development budget was reallocated to fight against the pandemic and 284 billion rupees was allocated for development. Despite the pandemic, a 100 billion was spent to continue ongoing schemes. For the year 2020-21, 233 billion is allocated for development. It is estimated that in financial year 2020-21, an amount of 155 billion will be spent on various development projects. Under the Provincial Annual Development Program, a number of projects have successfully been completed.
The COVID pandemic has had an effect on the entire globe. The Sindh province has also been greatly affected by COVID. This effect has especially been on the development side because a lot of resources have had to be transferred from development to increase our health facilities, to increase our testing so that we can take care of the health of our population. The development portfolio was greatly reduced in the year 2019-20 to divert funds towards health facilities, and I'm glad to let you know that we've increased our health facilities in a manner that to date they've not been strained because of the increased number of cases of COVID. The hospitalization have been below our capacity, and we've always been on top of this pandemic since its start. In terms of numbers, in the year 2019-20, 228 billion was allocated for development, which had to be reduced to 170 billion in 2020-21 because of COVID. Going forward in 2022, we are allocating a total of 222.5 billion in the provincial ADP, rupees 30 billion for district ADP. The total development portfolio for next year, that is 2021-22, is pitched at rupees 326 billion. I hope that with the federal resources that we are promised and our efforts to increase our provincial resources, we would be able to achieve this development target of 326 billion in the next financial year.
Government of Sindh is fully cognizant of the development needs of the province and is pursuing holistic strategies in various socio-economic sectors to invest in human capital for balanced and inclusive growth. Health and education stand at the center of this development. Government of Sindh is striving to improve access, retention, and quality of education across the province. A cluster-based consolidation approach is followed to choose primary, elementary, and secondary schools to maximize enrollment and retention. In this approach, a special focus is on improving girls' education. Under the upgradation plan, more than 650 schools are being upgraded from primary to elementary, and 160 schools from elementary to secondary level. The Sindh Basic Education Program is a comprehensive program of the Education Department under which more than 106 state-of-the-art secondary schools are built in 10 districts with the help of US aid. Out of these 106 schools, 68 schools have been handed over to reputable education organizations under public-private partnership. The remaining schools will also be managed by reputed EMOs to convert them to hubs of excellence, uplifting education standards of surrounding schools. Schools in this program are located in the northern districts of Sindh and outskirts of Karachi. Under this program, 150,000 children have been newly enrolled and 19,810 out-of-school children re-enrolled into schools. 15,551 teachers have been trained. 8,336 students and 800 teachers received ICT training. A similar program is underway with the help of the Asian Development Bank to establish 66 state-of-the-art secondary schools in the southern districts of Sindh. These schools too will be managed by reputed education management organizations. The Sindh Education Foundation, a semi-autonomous organization of the Sindh government, is working with the private sector to improve access and impart quality education across the province. Sindh Education Foundation has an enrollment of more than 475,000 students and provides free and compulsory education through more than 1,800 schools in line with the Sindh Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2013. These students have excelled in standardized achievement tests conducted by independent organizations at provincial and federal levels. Health is one of the topmost priorities of the government of Sindh. It is an established fact that disease burden is being shifted from communicable to non-communicable diseases, and Sindh is no exception here. Diseases like diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, renal failures, and impaired liver function impact the quality and livability of a person's life. This is the reason the government has invested heavily to strengthen tertiary and specialized healthcare institutions. Institutes like NICVD have 9 satellite centers, 21 chest pain clinics, and in 2020 treated more than 2.3 million patients for various heart ailments completely free of cost. At the secondary level, the government has invested heavily in upgradation of several THQs into DHQs, improving the scope and quality of services at the DHQ level. Along with improving infrastructure and facilities at THQ and DHQ levels, the government has also entered into partnerships with reputable HMOs for improved governance and service delivery from existing facilities. At the primary level, the government undertook various measures to improve the coverage and quality of primary health care. These efforts have borne fruit in the form of arrested child mortality, improved mother and child health, better immunization, and improved nutrition. For smooth implementation of these programs, the government shifted all vertical programs to the recurrent budget and regularized the related personnel. These improvements have been captured and reflected in the Credible Multiple Indicators Cluster Survey 2018-19. It is worth reiterating that this success has not made us complacent, but propelled us to embark on the Sindh 1000 Days Plus program, which is aimed at further strengthening primary healthcare for the provision of integrated healthcare services. River Indus is the lifeline of the province, and barrages and major canals on the Indus require major infrastructure investment for extending their useful lives. There is a strong realization that sustainable agriculture warrants complete planning for both water and agriculture, the two critical parameters in defining the government's strategic approach. The strategy includes major improvement in Guddu and Sakkar barrages. reduction in conveyance losses by investing in canal infrastructure, mainly on the left bank canals, and improved water equity through participative water governance is also a core component of the strategic approach of the government. The desert region in Sindh covers an area of approximately 68,000 kilometers and comprises of Thar, Nara, and Kohistan regions. These regions are devoid of surface water and therefore they rely heavily on rainwater storage or groundwater. Thus, in order to tackle the impending scarcity of water, the Irrigation Department, Government of Sindh created the Small Dams Organization. The Small Dams Organization has accomplished 85 small dams and weirs under PSDP and various ADP schemes. 13 dams and weirs are also ongoing to impound the rainwater from hill torrents, to recharge aquifer and thereby raise the subsoil water level to supplement the Barani land and provide adequate supply of potable water to the local inhabitants and their livestock. Sindh Agriculture Growth Project is aimed at improving horticulture value chains, which include dates, onion and chilies, management of rice, post-harvest loss management, and improving dairy value chain. The project reached approximately 112,000 farmers, covering 66,000 hectares, and used a value chain approach for developing more effective and efficient farming systems, adopting technology packages for increased productivity and value addition, and improving market access. Sindh Irrigated Agriculture Productivity Enhancement Project was started in 2015 to improve on-farm water management in Sindh. The project improves water efficiency, water conservation, and climate change adaptation through drip irrigation system, kitchen gardening kit, water courses lining, and laser land leveling. Under this project, 4,378 community water courses have been improved, and 749 water courses are being lined to reduce water losses by 33%. A high-efficiency irrigation system has been installed in 405 farms, covering a total of 6,035 acres. For improved food security, 10,100 households have been provided with kitchen gardening kits. 1,290 laser land leveling equipment have also been provided to reduce labor requirement for irrigation, improve water saving, and enhance irrigated areas. 1,539 farmer field schools have also been established through this project to improve crop yields with improved practices. Connectivity plays a very important role in the socio-economic development of any area. The government is working on improving east to west connectivity between cities situated on the left and right bank of the Indus River and along two main national highways, that is N5 and N55. Moreover, connectivity of central Sindh with the southern part of Sindh has been improved by new alignments or widening and dualization of existing roads. Moving towards wider connectivity, the Transport Department has connected the district and sub-district roads with big provincial roads. In this vein, the government has made inter-district dual carriageways, intra-district roads between district headquarters and taluka, and intra-taluka roads aiding farm-to-market connectivity. In last 3 years, till 2020, roads of more than 3,300 kilometers have been built at various levels in the southern districts of Sindh, and more than 2,400 kilometers have been built in the northern districts of Sindh. Through Sindh Provincial Roads Improvement Project, the Government of Sindh carried out major rehabilitation of 9 roads spanning over more than 400 kilometers. The project is implemented in 6 modules connecting the cities of Jacobabad Ratodero, Kandkot Jacobabad, Mirwa Naukot, Tandu Muhammad Khan Badin, Khyber Sanghad, and Sanghad Mirpur Khas. In the same project, a comprehensive road asset management system is developed to undertake road maintenance in an objective and sustainable way. 2 major roads have already been identified as tollways, thus paving the way for improved and sustainable connectivity for the people of Sindh. Further, 20 potential corridors across have been identified for upgradation in context of increasing population, access needs, and traffic density. Poverty in Pakistan is chronic and widespread, and Sindh is no exception. The government has invested heavily in community mobilization since 2019, creating social capital for communities to own and sustain poverty reduction campaigns. Since then, the program has extended to 18 districts with an outreach of over 1.2 million women households. In 2018, the government approved the Poverty Reduction Strategy, employing economies of scale and forming clusters of towns to create surplus. The Poverty Reduction Strategy consists of investments transforming towns into economic clusters, investment in economic infrastructure, strengthening of basic health, water, and sanitation. The Sindh government has initiated a comprehensive implementation of the Poverty Reduction Strategy worth 5 billion rupees in Chohar Jamali, Sujawal.
Sindh has a peculiar problem. It has many very small villages, 5 houses, 10 houses, 20 houses, and they're all scattered. Each village wants a school, a dispensary, and other facilities. It's very difficult to give a school to a village which has only 35 children of different ages. So what the Sindh government has done is adopted Poverty Reduction Strategy as official policy, cabinet approved, which seeks to consolidate the development process. What we do is that we use GIS technology to identify villages in close proximity, identify clusters of villages, and within that identify one village as a growth center where we can concentrate government resources, build a full-fledged high school, boys and girls with all the facilities, laboratories, libraries, build a hospital, and build a market center with all the economic infrastructure so that job opportunities can be created. The purpose of doing this is first to consolidate government resources and also to ensure that site a village, a town which becomes a growth center for the area. We will build quality rural housing, clean villages with drains and walkways, clean drinking water, kitchen gardening, and this is an experiment which will be extended across Sindh. The Chief Minister has identified Sujawal as a district where we have been asked to carry out this pilot project as an experiment. And within Sujawal, we have identified Chohar Jamali, which is a small rural town, for development as a growth center.
Karachi, the most populous city of Pakistan, is the financial, commercial, and industrial hub of the country. However, the livability of this metropolis remains far from ideal. Addressing challenges confronting Karachi's livability, the Sindh government has made a comprehensive plan to invest in municipal services, solid waste management, urban transport, urban spaces, district performance, and revenue generation. The government has also initiated the Karachi Water and Sanitation Services Improvement Plan, a reform-led plan to transform Karachi Water and Sewerage Board into a professional and viable utility organization. Another Project Sweep, Solid Waste Emergency and Efficiency Project, involves setting up a garbage collection mechanism, garbage transfer stations, and 2 mechanized landfill sites, providing a sustainable solution to manage the city's solid waste. Owing to catastrophic rains during monsoon 2020 and the resulting severe flooding, it was decided to improve the storm water channels in Karachi. The 3 major nalas of Karachi, namely Mahmoodabad, Gujjar, and Urangi Nala, are being restored to their original width and length for an efficient water drainage system, working in conjunction with water supply sewerage treatment and disposal, industrial waste treatment, and solid waste management. Karachi's urban transport projects include 4 bus rapid transit lines connecting the city's residential neighborhoods with the central business districts. The Red Line BRT will start from Malir and terminate at the Central Business District. Yellow Line BRT will commence from Landi and it will pass through Kurangi and Defence before joining the Red Line at Numaish. Green Line BRT will start from the densely populated areas of New Karachi, North Karachi, Nazmabad and will merge with other lines at Numaish. And finally, the Orange Line BRT will connect neighborhoods in Orangi Town and Nazimabad to Numaish. All these lines will be interoperable.
The World Bank Group has a long-standing engagement with the province, covering many sectors, basically the whole realm of development challenges that the province faces, wherein we have been supporting, be it in access to water, being on addressing stunting, addressing education outcome and learning, agriculture and irrigation, transport, particularly in Karachi, I'll speak about it more, renewable energy and urban services, health, disaster risk management, so basically the big development challenges that the province has been facing. We are supporting the government in its projects and investments and reforms. Our portfolio today is about $1.9 billion, and as out of that portfolio, close or more than $800 million is focused on Karachi itself, on the city, because it is a very important city for the economy of Pakistan. And around Karachi, what we're trying to do is work with the government to bring different sectors together. We call it the Karachi platform, and this engagement is based on very good analytics that has been prepared for strategy to transform the city. So for example, we're working on a neighborhood improvement project. More recently, starting in 2019, we've developed the competitive and livable city project. It's a large project which focuses on urban management, improving service delivery at the local level, improving solid waste management, and providing basically performance-based grants to local concerns to improve the livability and the services and the infrastructure in the neighborhoods of this great city. In our part of this project, we're also focusing on improving the business environment, sometimes measured by the doing business indicators, where Karachi plays a big role in the improvement that Pakistan as a whole has done over the recent years, in part has been driven by these progresses at the local level in the city of Karachi. Through this project, we're focusing on urban property tax, which is the potential to increase domestic revenue mobilization in the city of Karachi and other cities across Pakistan is huge, but it takes improving the land management, the valuation of properties, and the capability to tax better urban property. So that's a very important project we're focusing on. In Karachi as well, we're focusing on transport. We have an urban mobility project focusing on a 21-kilometer yellow corridor across the city, and this corridor has been focusing in particular with a gender aspect, to increase female labor force participation, to allow more women to join, to move to centers where jobs are created in greater proportion. Last but not least, we're working on water and sewage management in the city to improve access to clean water and improve the sewage management and the solid waste management in the city. So very happy and excited to continue this strong partnership with the government and to continue to work in Karachi and more broadly in the rest of the province, in secondary cities and in rural areas to support the development of this great province and the rest of the country, of course. And thank you very much.
Despite the fact that the government intends to spend 233 billion rupees on the development of the province, the actual need for investment in public infrastructure and social development remains huge. Given the government's limited resources, public-private partnerships are relied on to fill the gaps. Public-private partnerships are used extensively by governments world over to enhance service delivery for the public through partnering arrangements with the private sector. Sindh has succeeded in gaining the trust of the private sector. In 2018, a study by the Economist Intelligence Unit ranked Sindh 6th in Asia for enabling public-private partnerships. To secure this place, the government of Sindh has enacted a public-private partnership law and promulgated new rules for public-private partnerships in 2010 to assist both private and public sectors in implementing this innovative procurement methodology.
The province of Sindh leads the entire country in public-private partnership. We were the first province to enact the Public-Private Partnership Act. We had the first major project, the Hyderabad-Mirpur Khas dual carriageway, executed in 2011 and 12. We've had several projects since then. Our success has been acknowledged globally, and The Economist magazine has ranked us 6th in overall Asia, and Sindh is only one of the 2 sub-national governments which has been ranked amongst the national governments in public-private partnership. Apart from major infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, we have also gone into the service sector, and we've got a very successful public-private partnership for service delivery in the health and the education sector. Going forward, our public-private partnership portfolio exceeds rupees 300 billion at this time. We are doing major projects in the water sector, in ecotourism, and in the communication sector. Because of our consistent delivery, international organizations like the Asian Development Bank, the International Finance Corporation, the Kuwait Investment Authority, and many other donors have become our partners in public-private partnership projects. We hope that with this consistent efforts, we'll be able to bridge the gap of resources and fund more and more projects through public-private partnership mode.
The government of Sindh has engaged with the private sector in several other projects. In the power sector, the government established power plants lighting up the lives of millions in the province. A flagship project of the Sindh government is Sindh Engro Coal Mining Company that marked a huge milestone for the energy sector, for which a sovereign guarantee of $700 million was signed through the federal government to acquire 54% shares of the project in a joint venture. At the moment, the company has 2 power plants in Thar, which are fully operational, generating 660 megawatts collectively.
Biggest contribution of Government of Sindh is in the development of infrastructure projects. The biggest one was that if we look at Thar, which was remained unexploited for decades, then finally, as a result of public-private partnership, this dream was developed and then executed. And mashallah, right now, the first phase of mine is up and running. 3.6 million ton the coal is being produced, and now we are also gearing up to double the capacity to 7.6 million ton per annum. From the first phase of mining, 2 330 megawatt power projects are already connected to the grid, and not only providing very cost-effective electricity but based on the indigenous fuel. After the completion of phase 2, there are 2 more projects, Thar Energy Limited and Thal Nova Company Private Limited. These 2 330 megawatt projects will additionally add 660 megawatt, which will further enhance the dependability on indigenous fuel. So I think it is the biggest contribution of Government of Sindh, because this project would not have been realized until Government of Sindh has really given their full commitment and also constructed the required infrastructure, which is the supply of the water, the transmission line, and then effluent disposal system. So going forward, this initiative of Government of Sindh and very huge infrastructure project will bring energy security to the Pakistan, inshallah.
Like Sindh Engro Coal Mining Company, Sindh Nooriabad Power Company is also an example of a joint venture producing 100 megawatts from 2 projects. Connecting the powerhouse to the grid station was done through the Sindh Transmission and Dispatch Company, a remarkable achievement by the Sindh government. Alternate energy, including wind and solar power plants, has also been installed in the province. The total estimated power generation from these power plants is 1,335.2 megawatts, contributed to the national grid to light up the lives of millions in Sindh. In addition to these successful ventures, the government of Sindh embarked on other initiatives in the financial sector. In financial year 2007-8, the Finance Department established Sindh Fund Management House through a loan from the Asian Development Bank, injecting funds from employees' benefits. Currently, the Sindh Fund Management House manages an equity of 240 billion rupees. Initially, 139 billion rupees was invested by the government of Sindh and 101 billion rupees was earned through profits. In financial year 2012-13, the Department of Finance invested 6 billion rupees to establish Sindh Bank, complying with requirements of the State Bank. The following year, another 4 billion rupees was added to this amount. At present, Sindh Bank operates 191 branches in the province and another 102 branches in other cities of Pakistan, with an equity of 19.7 billion rupees. Similar to Sindh Bank, Sindh Leasing and Sindh Mudarpa are also managed by the private sector, with the Finance Secretary serving as a board member. With an equity of 3.5 billion and 1 billion rupees respectively, both are completely owned by the government of Sindh. Sindh Insurance Company is responsible for the provision of accidental death benefits, granting 100,000 rupees to affected families of any resident of Sindh. Until now, an amount of 201 million rupees has been disbursed to more than 2,000 beneficiaries in Sindh. To conclude, the social and economic progress of the province is the utmost priority of the government of Sindh, to which it remains fully committed, striving for a better future for the people of Sindh with excellence, commitment, and diligence.